All right, welcome to MMA Al Dente. I'm your host, Billy V. I am here to talk to you about UFC Fight Night, whatever the fuck, KATTAR versus Chikadze. Just going to give you my picks and some predictions. Oh, wait, those are picks. Whatever the fuck. Roll with it. All right. KATTAR versus Chikadze. I'm taking Chikadze via unanimous decision. I'm hoping to see Calvin Kattar win the fight. I'm hoping to see him do it with wrestling. I just doubt that'll be the case. In fact, part of me really doesn't want him to commit to wrestling because I feel like he'll be one of these guys that has a really good takedown once, and then it's on the feet getting tuned up. Again, I hope that's not the case, but my pick, generally speaking, is Chikadze via unanimous decision because I think Kattar is going to be on the feet. On the feet, while he's certainly competent and dangerous and long and heavy and big and whatever the fuck, as good of an athlete as it gets in that division at featherweight, Chikadze will have a distinct kicking advantage. And Chikadze will have cardio for days, kickboxing. He's not going to go anywhere in that regard. And Kattar, especially if he burns himself out in round one going for a takedown, he's going to be comfortable just not getting finished. And that's really plan A for me, prediction-wise and even betting-wise. What I'm hoping for in this fight is Calvin Kattar to show that he's got wrestling, and not just for one round, but for 5 rounds or 3 rounds or whatever, where he can win a fight with wrestling. That would be amazing. In addition, of course, would be submissions. Seeing Calvin strangle Giga would be awesome. I'm going to call him Chikadze. I don't even know if it's Giga or Giga. I have no fucking clue. Anyway, yeah, it's a great main event. I'm interested in seeing what happens, even if it's a striking bout, how they fare later on in the fight. I know Chikadze won't be gassed out, but I know Kattar won't either. And Calvin Kattar's a guy who he brings it. He brings it. In round 3, he brings it, certainly. And I want to see him in a 5-round fight in which he's not getting lit the fuck up by Max Holloway. So I'm not really betting on this one, but a gun to my head, I'd say Chikadze via unanimous decision. And who the fuck am I kidding? I am betting on this one. But it won't be anything that I, declare. It'll just be something I'm feeling. Like, all right, I'll put the rest of my account on draw. Maybe they'll fight to a draw. And I'll win 60-1. All right, co-main event, Chookagian versus Maia. Caitlin Chookagian versus Jennifer Maia. This fight has taken place already 3 years ago. This is the rematch. Caitlin Chookagian, I'm taking her via unanimous decision. You can pretty much guess how that goes. But look, in their first fight, Jennifer Maia took round 3 from her. And I know she's capable of winning the fight. Anywhere, really, to be honest. But I know she's capable of winning the fight. I do think Caitlin Chookagian is the better striker. I think her takedown defense is as good as it gets. Well, it's not as good as it gets, but it's good enough. And I do think her cardio and her movement and everything else just present so many different problems for Jennifer Maia. She's at a natural disadvantage here. And hopefully a tactical disadvantage. I do think Jennifer Maia, if she doesn't get a takedown in the first round, she loses. And again, my pick will be Caitlin Chookagian via unanimous decision. Third fight from the top, Brandon Royval versus Rogerio Bontorin. I'm taking Bontorin via unanimous decision. That's an underdog. Brandon Royval is one of my favorite fighters. He's pure excitement. He really does not stop fighting on the ground. He's one of those guys, he hits the mat and right away he's going for something. He's spinning this way, spinning that way, and that's what makes him such an exciting fighter. However, Rogerio Bontorin is one of the guys that's just, he's too strong and he's too competent at grappling to lose this. To lose a to get submitted anyway. I think he could get knocked out, certainly after seeing him get knocked out in his last fight against Kakaramov. And Brandon Royval, we've seen him with spinning back fist, actually on Kakaramov. I believe he hit him with a spinning back fist. So he certainly got it within him. But I think the fluke of all their fights was, not that it was a fluke in result, but just really in the result, was him getting knocked out. That's the fluke. Losing to Kakaramov is no fluke, but Rogerio Bontorin, I'd like to think he's got a strong chin on him and he won't be getting knocked out here. If he doesn't, I'm taking him via unanimous decision. Brandon Royval could win a decision just because he's one of those anti-wrestlers who doesn't stop fighting and creates opportunities and moments for himself. That's the best kind of a fighter, but generally the guy that wins the decision is the stronger, top game wrestler, grappler, fighter guy. And that's Rogerio Bontorin. Unanimous decision. Calling it now. All right, fourth fight from the top. The main event for the fat guys. Jake Collier versus Chase Sherman. Chase isn't really fat, but he's going to be one day when he retires. Mark my fucking words. I'm taking Jake Collier via unanimous decision. I think Chase Sherman has a lot of demons. He seemed to be really discouraged in his last fight. Who was it? Parker Porter, I think. It surprised me. It was visible discouragement that I saw from Chase Sherman. He just seemed like he did not want to be there. Jake Collier, while he says that with his body, he doesn't show it. He's a guy that's, content now fighting at heavyweight. He was always a big guy. Still is. But I can't say he's the perfect heavyweight. He's settled into heavyweight. But he's good enough where I think he can handle Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman could win this fight via knockout, I think, before Jake Collier could. Or would. But Jake Collier, whatever the fuck. I think he's just got more for Chase Sherman. I think Chase Sherman is going to have a good round or so, and then Collier is going to pull away. That's just what I think. If he's not a sitting duck for those heavy leg kicks of Chase Sherman, then he's going to win this fight. And he's going to do it with better hands. I see Chase Sherman kind of getting bloodied up, messed up, not going down, and of course this will be a close fight. I see it almost certainly being 29-28 one way or the other, and I'm not going to bet on it. But I'm predicting Jake Collier has more. That's just from what I've seen of him as a fat guy. I'm picking Jake. Bill Algeo versus Joe Anderson Brito. I'm taking Bill Algeo, the underdog here. I don't know if he's an underdog. Whatever. I'm taking Bill Algeo, unanimous decision or the late TKO. Joe Anderson Brito is a very good, very explosive Brazilian fighter. But this is him stepping into the MMA scene in America. And he's not going to be fighting someone who's 5'8". Joe Anderson is 5'8". Bill Algeo is 6 foot. Now, that means Joe Anderson's going to have a lot more explosiveness and a lot more muscle, compact muscle. He should win round 1. But Bill Algeo will win round 3. It's just a question of what happens in round 2. I see Bill Algeo taking over this fight. He's got great striking, relentless striking. And he's a good grappler too, but he's not physically imposing. He's not able to impose himself physically. That could cost him here, but I don't think it will. I think, just naturally the 6 foot frame is going to impose itself on the 5'8" frame. And over the course of 15 minutes, I see Brito fading. He might win round 1, but he'll lose round 3. I don't know what's going to happen in round 2. If anybody gets a finish, it's Brito early or Algeo late. I'm taking Algeo. All right. Jamie Pickett versus Joseph Holmes. I'm going with Jamie Pickett via unanimous decision. I do think Joseph Holmes will be a good UFC fighter. I think he'll have a lot of success in the UFC, including finishes. I'll even say I think he's going to have a better career in the UFC than Jamie Pickett. But where they're at right now, I think this is that first test that Holmes is going to fail. He's not going to have as much success against Jamie Pickett, who's a really solid, strong athlete. And Jamie Pickett is a competent striker and grappler. He's a guy who's capable of imposing his wrestling, and even making a dirty clinch fight out of any fight. And that's just what I see from fucking Jamie Pickett here. I think Jamie Pickett, if he doesn't go down in round 1, he wins a decision. That's really I think Joseph Holmes, my prediction for him winning would be a first-round knockout. But yeah, I'm inclined to think this is that first lesson he's going to learn as an MMA fighter, and it's going to come courtesy of Jamie Pickett. Size, strength, wrestling, and experience. Next up, Court McGee versus Ramiz Brahimaj. I've got Court McGee winning a unanimous decision. I think Court McGee is one of the toughest fighters in the history of the sport. He's tough as all fuck. What he's missing is prowess, offensive prowess, finishing ability. He doesn't have that, so it leaves a lot of room for his opponents to steal fights from him, essentially, just by being there to steal rounds and whatever. Another fighter with a more average finishing ability, meaning higher finishing ability, just wouldn't have lost some of these decisions because he would have gotten some guys out of there, just statistically speaking. Court McGee, every fight's a battle. And of course, this is a battle, like most of his fights now, against a younger guy. But Court McGee will be there in the 3rd round. Just like I said for Bill Algeo, Court McGee will win round 3 if this fight gets there. And on that alone, I'm betting on Court McGee. He can win a fight striking. He can win a fight grappling. He can win a fight in the clinch. He can fight anywhere. And he's sharp enough to fight anywhere. And he's in shape enough to fight anywhere for 15 minutes hard. Could be wrong, but I'm betting on Court. And plus, Brahimaj, it's not like if he was weak and he was getting knocked out left and right, or even strangled left and right, I would pick Court to fill that hole via knockout or submission or whatever. But Brahimaj is very fucking tough. You want to beat that guy, you want to finish that guy, you got to cut his fucking head off, or his ear, or whatever. Gabriel Benitez versus TJ Brown. I'm taking Benitez via KO in the second round. TJ Brown is a really tough fighter, but he's not durable. And Gabriel Benitez, while I do question his durability, and he's shown, he's not the most durable guy himself, I consider him to be a league above TJ Brown. I'm taking Gabriel to win. Hopefully lands some nice hard leg kicks and gets a clean left-hand knockout. Of course, if not, we're going to a hell of a decision. Or Benitez gets knocked out. What do I know? Maybe his chin finally gets cracked open where it doesn't recover. But I just consider Gabriel to be a more solid fighter. TJ, he's entry-level UFC, whereas Benitez is just a notch above that. Of course, this could be that pivotal fight where we learn a little more about each fighter and they swap positions, but I'm taking Benitez. I think at this point, he's got too much for TJ Brown. TJ Brown, he's not some UFC debutant, some fucking total noob, but he's still not, he doesn't have the level. He's not at the level and doesn't have the experience fighting at the level of Gabriel Benitez. So this is just a levels thing. I'm picking Benitez. Next up, Dakota Bush versus Vyacheslav Borshchev. Okay, Borshchev, even though I can't say his fucking name, he's a deadly fucking striker, deadly fighter, and I don't know much about him. I'm taking Dakota Bush. I think Dakota Bush is tougher than people give him credit for. He's really fucking tough. I think he's in better shape. He's in great shape. I can't say who's in better shape. But I think Dakota Bush will be, I don't know how round one's going to go, but I think it could be a little dicey, and then he imposes his will, imposes his game, and takes over this fight. All right, my initial pick was Boris Chev via KO round 1, and I thought that's a little basic. Let me look into this. Dakota Bush is tougher than people give him credit for, and he's tougher than the odds makers are giving him credit for. I can't say I guarantee he's going to win, or even gun to my head, I'll pick him, although it is my pick with no gun. But I'm absolutely betting on him. I will be betting on Dakota Bush. I suggest you do the same. All right. Brian Kelleher versus Saeid Kakaramov. This is just another case of levels where, you know, a guy with 10 fights is fighting a guy who's got 10 fights in the UFC. Brian Kelleher is a finisher. I want to say Brian Kelleher is some sort of test in the UFC. I don't know if he's a test for, you know, a gatekeeper at the doors of the UFC or a gatekeeper at the door of the top 20 in the world. That might be a little more accurate. But he is he's a gatekeeper of sorts, and I just see him shutting the gate on Kakaramov. I can't say whether it'll come via knockout or submission, but I'm predicting a late finish. This is one of those Brian Kelleher takes a guy to school fights. And I'm thinking a late finish, round 2, round 3, knockout or submission. Although, probably a knockout. Submission would have to come early from Brian Kelleher. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Vanessa, the last fight, Vanessa Demopolis versus Silvia Gomez Juarez. I'm taking Vanessa to win via unanimous decision. I just think she's a better fighter. Of course, Juarez, we saw get armbarred in her last fight against Lupita Godinez. That was, could have been just the fluke, so to speak, the anomaly of her record. And to be honest, I don't see Demopolis getting a submission here either. I see her winning a decision. But I don't know. I don't know everything there is to know about Silvia Gomez Juarez, and I'm looking to find out. Vanessa Demopolis is, even though she's not the greatest fighter, she's not even the goodest fighter, she's pretty fucking good. And I want to say, despite her record, she's the UFC fighter here. She is. She's gone tooth and nail with a lot of UFC fighters. She's more well-rounded, I want to say. I expect to see her roughing up Juarez, especially on the mat, if she's able to get it there. But if not, Vanessa's very good on her feet, too. She's able to throw down with the best of them. So I'm taking Vanessa, but this is one of those, devil you know versus devil you don't. Overall, I'd say this fight card fucking sucks. We lost a lot of great fights. Buckley versus Al Hassan. Salika versus Michelle Pajeda, who would have flipped around at least once. We were missing that. And we're missing some other ones, too. Raoni Barcelos versus Victor Henry. That fight got rebooked a few times. But here we are. This is January 10th. I hope this fight card doesn't go to complete shit. It's already at dog shit level with 11 fights. But just remember, any fight any UFC card that is dog shit is still great by MMA standards. Great. This card has 11 fights on it. I can't think of one of these fights that wouldn't have my attention if it was taking place outside of the UFC. Where if I'm not able to see it, I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on the results. I wake up the next day. I wonder what happened with Kelleher and Kakaramov. I wonder what happened with that guy Jamie Pickett and Joseph Holmes. So, again, this one sucks for the UFC, but it's the first one of the year. They ate some shit. COVID, horse shit. Injuries, COVID, horse shit. And now we're here with an 11 fight card. But I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to take it in. I've been waiting for this for 4 fucking weeks. That last one, watching Darren Elkins get knocked out by Cub Swanson, that left a sour taste in my mouth, even though it was still a great event and great performance from Cub. So, yeah, I'll enjoy this one Saturday night. I'll be back with a review video on Sunday morning. Until then, take it easy. Thanks for tuning in to MMA Al Dente.